it's Jenny, and I'm here recording some new music. One of the people who watches my videos, their name is the KNB TV, asked me to record some music that they have to play for an upcoming audition. So I said yes, and I also figured that a lot of you might also have to play this in the future for All-State or Honors Band or All-County Band, however it's run in your state. So this specific piece is from the Advanced Rubank Volume 1. It's on page 47, and it's number 24, and it's just the top line. So I'm going to go ahead and play it, and then I'll give you guys some tips on how to practice. So that's the whole thing. As you know, I'm always a little out of breath at the end of these pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and talk through some things. If you heard a thump halfway through the piece, that was my cat Waffles jumping off of the table over there onto the ground. I guess he was bored with my playing. So the first thing you need to pay attention to in this is the key signature. It's in D major, which means we have two sharps, F sharps and C sharp. The one that you might be less familiar with is the C sharp, and there's two ways to play C sharp. So let's see. It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and either the outside key played with your left hand, I know it might be flipped on YouTube right now, or the top bottom key, if that makes any sense, with your right hand. Either way would work. You would just have to flip the way you play B, because there's two ways to play B. Either the inside key with your right hand or the bottommost bottom key of, oh, I said that the wrong way around. The inside key of your left hand, this is my left hand, and the bottommost bottom key with your right hand. So whichever way you want to play C sharp or B, you just need to do the opposite for the other note. So if you're playing B with your right hand, you need to play C sharp with your left hand. Same with the reverse. If you're playing B with your left hand, you need to play it with your right hand so we don't slide between the notes. Sliding usually doesn't sound as good. So a slide would be if I use the same pinky to play the two notes, and it would sound like this. You can't get to it very nicely, so you want to use opposite fingers. And the connection is much better. You get a better sounding B and C sharp. So that's the first thing to notice. The second thing is, if you look in the third measure, there's an A sharp. So if we all think back to, if we've ever learned the word enharmonic, it means that it's the same note, but it's a different name. So A sharp is the same as B flat. If a note is called a sharp, so it's something sharp, we go up one letter and call it a flat. and that would be its end harmonic. It would be the same exact note, the same fingering. So A sharp and B flat, same thing. So when we see the A sharp on the second space, we play it like B flat on the third line. So just double check that you're playing that correctly. The next thing I want to talk about is the dynamic contrast in this piece. So we have a lot of pianos and fortes, piano, forte, piano, forte. And a lot of the time it doesn't give us a lot of time to get from piano to forte. They're either subito, which means sudden. So if you look at the last measure of the first line and the first measure of the second line, we go from forte to piano. So that sounds like. That's not so bad. What I find tricky is something more along the lines of, if we look 3 lines down, the third line, we're going from a piano dynamic in the previous line to forte in 1 measure. I'm going to tell you to make that crescendo happen over the previous 3 measures. So count with me. From the beginning, measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In the 10th measure, we're starting at piano and we have our hairpins, right? We have a crescendo to a decrescendo. I still want us to do that, but I want us to get up to a mezzo piano plus, and not come all the way back down to piano. Because if we do come all the way back down to piano, then the next measure, measure 12, the first measure of the third line, then we have to go from piano to forte in 1 measure, and we'll sound crazy. Because to do that, it would sound like. Doesn't sound great, sounds a little weird. So let me play for you how I think it should sound. This is starting in measure 10. So basically, we're adding on. For measure 10 and 11, our 1 mini phrase, we want to get up to about mezzo piano plus, and then measure 12, we want to start it at mezzo piano, mezzo forte, so that our crescendo doesn't sound so crazy. Another thing that happens throughout this piece are these lines over some of the notes. Those are tenuto marks. And what we want to do when we see them is we want to play the notes full length and smooth. So if we're looking 10, 11, 12, 13, which is the second measure of the third line, we have all those tenuto marks. I think stylistically in this piece, when we have the tenuto marks, we want a tiny bit of space in between them. So think of them as very broad. Heavy might not be the same word, but a lot of weight to them. Quarter notes. So I'm going to play starting in measure 13. Almost like bell tones. If you've ever had a band teacher or anyone else say bell tones, if you're going to hit a bell, how they ring, that's how we want these tenutos to sound. The worst part about this whole piece for me is the breathing is really weird. There's plenty of places to breathe, but sometimes it cuts I got really distracted because I have a birdhouse and there's this bird just peeking its head out of the window, like watching me. But back to the weird breathing. So there's plenty of places to breathe, but sometimes it cuts phrases strangely. So I'm going to tell you where I took breaths. Know that if you are much smaller than me, if you're younger than me, you might need to take more breaths. I've been playing clarinet for 20 years and have worked on being able to play very long lines. And we want to work on that as well, right? These are the breaths that work for me. You might need to take a couple more catch breaths throughout the piece. So the first time I breathe is the end of measure 4. We have the F sharp half note and the E, then I take a breath. The second place I breathe is the second line. We have 2 quarter note rests, take a breath there. Then the third place I breathe is the third line of music, the end of the second measure. So 10, 11, 12, 13, the end of measure 13. All right? So we have those quarter note tenutos. Now, I don't particularly need a whole breath at that point, but to get to the next place where I think it's appropriate to breathe, which is the very end of the third line, if I don't breathe at the end of measure 13, then I'm dying a little bit, okay? And I'm not able to do the crescendos and get up to the forte as I want. So I'm breathing at the end of measure 13, I'm breathing at the end of the third line. Then look at the fourth line of music. We have 2 quarter note rests as well, taking a breath there, and then I'm playing to the end without another breath. You may need one more breath. My suggestion, if you need one more breath before the end, would be if we count back from the end, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 measures back from the end, we have a forte and we have a B, D, and F sharp. I would take a breath after the F sharp if needed. If not, don't take it. Another thing about that very last line, if we look at the last line of music, the second measure, we have a low A sharp that is coming from a B natural. We want to play the B natural as a fork fingering. So there's 2 ways to play B natural. We have, I'm sorry, I'm like struggling with where to show you this. So B natural, 1 thumb, 1, 2, 3, middle finger. That's how we play B natural 80% of the time. This is one of the times where we want to play it, thumb, 1, 2, 3, 1, and then sliver key, or some of you may have heard it called the banana key. You take your ring finger and you press down. What that allows us to do is now we're coming from a fork, that's what it's called, a fork B, to the A sharp, which is the same as B flat, and we can just lift our ring finger and go from B to B flat instead of flip-flopping. So it will be B natural, fork B natural, to A sharp. It will sound like this. Also, on a lot of people's clarinets, fork B tends to be better in tune. You should just check it with a tuner. See if regular B with your middle finger is more in tune or the fork B. If fork B is better in tune, you might want to use it a little bit more, especially for long notes. And my last thing to say about this is when you get to the end, you can put a little squiggle, as I call it, a little slowdown over the last few notes to signify that you're ending. So I'm going to play the last 4 measures for you so you can hear what I mean. So it wasn't that much, but I did a little ritardando at the end just to show this is the end of the piece, we're done. All right, well, I hope you guys thought that that was helpful, and if you guys have any music that you'd like me to play and help you with tips on how to practice, let me know in the comments below and I'll practice them and make some more videos. All right, I hope you're having a good day. Bye.